Did you know that every time the Jougan has appeared in the anime, it was shown to be able to use different abilities that don't have any link with each other? Could this be a hint that the pure eye can utilize other dojutsu abilities? The color of this eye is white, the same as the color of light, and when light enters the prism, it diverts into 7 colors. Could this phenomenon be a reference to the Jougan's true prowess? That is yet to be unveiled. Stay tuned to find out how the Jougan could be the ancestor of all the dojutsu, with theories that will blow your mind. The mysterious eye of Boruto, that's rumored to have a great role in the time skip, has made a few notable appearances in the anime, and every time this eye showed up, it was able to perform different abilities that are really different from each other. The number one hint for the Jougan to be the ancestor of all the dojutsus comes from the fact that it has some ties with the Otsutsuki god. In the Narutoverse, Kaguya is said to be the mother of chakra on earth, which means all the ocular powers that we have seen in the series are somewhere related to her or her two sons. If we go by this logic, then Boruto's awakening of this new ocular power could hypothetically have some ties with the Rinne Sharingan. The fact that Naruto had Hagoromo's chakra and Hinata has Hamura's chakra might be the reason for the Jougan's awakening. If Boruto somehow possessed the Uchiha blood, chances are he would have awakened the Rinne Sharingan instead of the Jougan. The main powers of the pure eye, like the space-time ninjutsu and the ability to look beyond barriers and chakra pathway systems, are very similar to that of the Byakugan and Rinnegan's abilities. Also, it was confirmed by an animator that the Jougan allows the user to sense emotions similar to Naruto's negative emotion sensing power. It seems like it also enables the user to utilize weapons by granting them great strength and skill set. And most importantly, the members of the Otsutsuki clan see this eye as a nuisance. So could it be that the Jougan is the pure Sharingan-less version of the Rinne Sharingan? Well, what if I told you this dojutsu has nothing to do with any Otsutsuki that we have seen in the story before? So to understand why and how does Boruto awaken this power, we will need to dive into every quality of the blue karma wielder, which makes him eligible to handle this dojutsu. But before that, let's try to understand what connections could the messenger Otsutsuki have with the Jougan. In episode 8 of the anime, Toneri appeared in Boruto's dream and told him how he bears the fate of the world on his shoulders with the power unique to his right eye. Later in episode 53, Urashiki seals him on the moon for 1,000 years and tells him that it's his delusion that he made the first move by doing something to that woman's child. Here Urashiki was referring to Boruto by calling him the son of the Byakugan wielder. According to the novels, Toneri sped up the procedure of Boruto's Jougan awakening by appearing in his dream and leading him to the latent power. The reply that Toneri gave to Urashiki could be a vital key to solving the Jougan mystery. It seems like Toneri knows something that is unknown to Urashiki, and considering the fact that he is seen as a traitor by the celestial being, the Jougan could really pose a threat to the Otsutsuki clan. What I believe is that Toneri was aware that the Jougan is a really high level power wielded by only the gods of his race. Boruto possessing such a great power could help him to overcome the 3 darkest phases that he is about to face in his life. But before discussing them, let's take a look at all the things that made Boruto eligible for this superpower. Starting off with the one that I mentioned early in the video, Boruto being the son of the prodigies who greatly inherited the power of Kaguya's sons, with Naruto being the reincarnation of Ashura and possessing the 6-pack chakra from Hagoromo, while Hinata being the Byakugan princess who possessed the power of Hamura, must have soaked Boruto's body with a vast amount of Otsutsuki genetics. It was even mentioned by Momoshiki when he returned to give Boruto the karma, and this could have led to Toneri sensing this power and quickly identifying it as one of the most strongest in his race. Secondly, Boruto becoming a pure Otsutsuki must have granted him the affinity to handle such a great power in one of his eyes. This means that even though Momoshiki had selfish goals with the vessel, he unknowingly made him suitable enough to wield the most powerful dojutsu in the universe. There is no way Boruto would have been properly able to utilize the Jougan in his human form, and that may be why its manga debut is still pending, since it should make more sense to the reader. Now, the first factor which influences the Jougan's awakening could have something to do with the deeper meaning of Momoshiki's original prophecy. So here is how I think it could go down. Momoshiki originally predicted Boruto losing everything to some blue eyes, and then in a later chapter, he even said that it will make him leave the control of his body to him. In other words, the Otsutsuki will become Boruto himself, since there is no way for him to get his original body back. Now here is the catch. The Omnipotence twist happened, but Boruto kept the grip of his body strong. The interference of Sasuke, who was sent by Sarada, changed the future completely, saving Boruto from either death or doom. However, in chapter 25, Boruto has now himself went to to Momoshiki, offering him the control of his body in case they are able to defeat Jura together. Well, if you think about it, it will only fulfill the prediction of Momoshiki from chapter 72. So what if all of it was a part of the Otsutsuki's plan from the very beginning? Now here comes the more interesting part. Could it be that when Boruto will surrender his body to Momoshiki, it will mark the day when he will awaken the Jougan? Well, this is where it gets deep. It's not only Boruto's story, but Kawaki's too. He's also destined to become an enemy of the people whom he's trying to protect at present. Kawaki becoming an apostle of destruction to destroy the shinobi world is inevitable, and the first episode even confirms that Boruto will somehow get the control of his body back. Not just that, it even seems like the whole Momoshiki angle has been handled simply because Kawaki has spared Boruto's life. So what exactly went down? Well, I think the power that Toneri sensed in him is actually from Shibai Otsutsuki. Momoshiki looked into his eye when he referred to this power, and if I'm not mistaken, both of them are referring to the same thing. Toneri even said the power slumbers deep within him, and when you consider how Momoshiki said you will dwell deep in a corner of your psyche forever, what if it's the same place where Boruto is bound to awaken the power? And surprisingly, the place has already been revealed in chapter 25 too, a dimension sort of realm unique to Boruto's mind, where Momoshiki can be seen counting days awaiting his death. Boruto will definitely be trapped in the same realm once Momoshiki hijacks his body, and this leaves us with one solid possibility. The chakra that awakened this power in him, which slumbers deep within his body according to Toneri, could somehow react with his soul to let him have a Hagoromo Otsutsuki type of meeting with Shibai Otsutsuki. He could get to meet him in a spiritual plane to finally awaken this power before the flash forward battle, therefore purifying the karma seal from Momoshiki's curse, making him have the permanent control of his body. In other words, it will be the death of Momoshiki by the Jougan that would let Boruto have the body after the deal gets finished. So what does Kawaki have to do with all this, you may ask? Well, his development into the destroyer of the world is still going strong. Chapter 26 showed us how the ninja world is back at being brutal with everyone who poses a threat to their villages or the ones who are silently supporting the enemy group. Jura is also pushing Kawaki to think about the true meaning of love, and it's only about time when he will get manipulated against the old system in the vision of making a better world. And Boruto at that point must have already surrendered his body to Momoshiki, but he can't see the world crumble in front of his eyes, whose protection costed him his own body. Therefore, the only hope that will come to him at this period, which will not only deal with Momoshiki but would handle Kawaki as well, is the Jougan, which is termed as the Star of Hope. This may be why Toneri used the words such as destruction or darkness to refer to the upcoming events. Both of these are metaphor for Kawaki and his actions, explaining how this prophecy is a word-to-word prediction of the future battle. Now, the next theory that I'm about to tell would explain the Jougan's ability to grant powers from different dojutsus to the wielder. It also has something to do with the true aim of the writers with this story, so hear me out. I think Kawaki is the final living danger of the shinobi world, irrespective of his motives behind the shinobi eradication. Once he will be dealt with, the shinobi will be free from all sorts of internal threats. Now the question remains, what's gonna happen next? Well, I believe the Jougan will be a way for Boruto to enter the Otsutsuki world, where he will start a new adventure, and there are not one but two reasons to back this up. The second one makes more sense, so don't miss it. In the conversation of Toneri and Urashiki, there was a mention of the main Otsutsuki family. Further, when Toneri tells Urashiki that he doesn't know everything when it comes to Boruto and what he did with him, chances are Toneri was hiding a lot of things from him, as he actually knows a lot about Boruto's power and role. The reason Urashiki sealed him is because he considered him a traitor, and later when he sees Boruto with the Jougan, he calls it a troublesome eye. No wonder the pure eye became a reason for Urashiki's defeat in this fight. It seems like Toneri knew Boruto would awaken this power, and by speeding up the process by appearing in his dream, he has altered the fate of both the shinobi and the Otsutsuki world, something similar to what Koji did in the manga by taking Boruto under his wing and training him with the help of the Prescience. And this brings us to the second reason for why the Jougan would take Boruto to the alien world. A story cannot be concluded without clearing all of its plot holes, and if the writers of Naruto want to take the franchise to its ultimate conclusion, they will need to unveil all the mysteries and secrets of the Otsutsukis, and by giving Boruto a vital power of this clan, they have already built a bridge to perish all the existing plot holes. The Jougan could lead us to the final arc of the story, which would deal with the remaining Otsutsuki, as well as those who have achieved godhood, including the most awaited Shibai. Therefore, the eye playing such a vital role and having ties to the Otsutsuki god to some extent proves that it can wield the powers of all the dojutsu after it. There were many times in the anime when the Jougan could be seen using the powers of other dojutsu, starting off with the Momoshiki fight, when in this scene right here, Boruto apparently utilized a technique similar to precognition, which is unique to Sharingan wielders. He was able to first dodge and then land an attack on Momoshiki while the Jougan remained active the entire time. So there is a very high chance that the Pure Eye granted him this ability, and just like the Rinnegan, the Jougan also allows Boruto to see the barriers between dimensions as well as the presence of evil or invisible things. The Byakugan's powers to look through chakra pathways and strong sensory abilities are also a part of the Jougan's prowess, and there is a vital point which proves this even further. I think the Jougan has been giving Boruto the most suitable ability to tackle any situation. Like when Boruto went hopeless, it must have awakened to grant him the control back. On top of that, we can see Kawaki is not using the Kokugan in the future, so there is a chance that the Jougan blocked it through his Shinjutsu erasing power. This yet again sets it up for becoming the mother of all the dojutsu. Also, the Jougan's main manga hint comes from this Otsutsuki god panel, which features a lot of eyes in the background similar to this dojutsu. So when you look at how Aida and Daemon were introduced shortly after that, how their eyes are also based on the moon, well, all of it starts to make much more sense. Aida and Daemon are the artificial wielders of Shibai's power, while Boruto is the natural one. Check out these videos for a full-fledged explanation for why it's like that, and I will see you next time.